Oh my god. So we spent like almost 6.5 hours. 6.5 hours of, well, not here, but I think there are like subsequent hours, right? But we've gone through like what? What day? What day is it? Saturday? Um, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We played a new game called Hi-Fi Rush, right? It was a game that was shadow dropped. It was a game that was shadow dropped during a Xbox Direct, right? There was an Xbox Direct around like Wednesday, and the whole like show was like, whatever, right? There was like some Bethesda stuff, some Elder Scrolls, some fucking Forza, some Minecraft dungeons, all that stuff, yada yada, right? Then Xbox showed off Shinji Mikami and his co-workers at Tango Gameworks. I think it was like John Johannesson. And they announced a new game that they've been like cooking up in the works, and it was called Hi-Fi Rush, which is, this game right here. And oh my god, did I was captivated by the launch trailer. I was watching like Maximilian _ dude, and he was watching the Xbox Direct. I was like, yeah, whatever, right? Like Xbox Directs are like nothing to be amazing about. Their usual Xbox, Microsoft spiel, right? But Xbox does have some like banger like directs when they put out like good stuff, right? I remember like the one time that two times that Xbox really like was goddamn like goated was when Devil May Cry 5 was announced at an Xbox Direct at E3, and when Dragon Ball FighterZ was announced at that Xbox Direct for E3. So Xbox knows how to like pull out like bangers. Recent years it's like whatever, right? But when they pump out when they put out like good stuff for their directs, they know how to pump out good stuff, and this was like one of them, right? So Hi-Fi Rush is a character action game, so basically freaking DMC, any of like the platinum like games, right? But the main gimmick behind Hi-Fi Rush is the fucking the music, the rhythm, right? And it's not like other like character action games, in my opinion, I feel, right? There was like a music inspired character action game, and that was Brutal Legend, which was by Jack Black. I never played it. I know a friend of mine who has like played it, but I never played it like myself. I just like watched like a fucking like 15-minute like first minutes thing. It was like when I had like Comcast and they had like a G4 channel. But that was really it. That was the closest that we got. Now we have like, I feel, the pinnacle of like, musical like action like games. And the combat itself, I got to like, the first time like I was like playing it, it felt super fucking organic, right? Because it's DMC, right? You got like XXY combos, you got pause combos, and as you later like play the game, you start to have more mechanics, right? You have a dodge, you have a parry, you can select like a super that you can do, and the unique thing about this game also is that you have like assists. As you play more of the game, you start to get like more characters, right? Instead of just like soloing it like yourself, right? And assists really like, goddamn, they're also like stylish as hell. And yeah, everything about like Hi-Fi Rush is like going like with the beat, right? So it's not like, typical like action games where you mash X or like mash Y on like a controller, or depending on like if you have a PlayStation controller like this. But speaking of which, this is the funny thing, right? This was not sold on PlayStation. This was directly exclusive to Xbox, right? And we're gonna talk about like the impact and like the meaning behind like Hi-Fi Rush's exclusivity in a moment. But like for the combat, right? Everything was, you go along with the music, right? the first instance of Hi-Fi Rush is that this is like a feel-good, like rhythm beat, like character action game, right? Like music is such like an important factor. Well, it's such like a joy in like everyday life. Like you listen to beats when you go out of town. You listen to the radio. Sorry, you listen to the radio. You hear like your favorite song on the radio, and you want to like bop and like jive. In video games, especially like character action games, DMC, like for example, has a lot of memorable songs, a lot of like edgy fucking like songs that cater to like the character, right? Character in like DMC5 and DMC3, but also, you know, just like the whole game, it's a character action game that makes you want to like be super stylish and super crazy with your combos and creativity when you're playing the game, right? This game is nothing but like just music from different like musical bands and artists that go along, that play like their songs while also like resonating with the gameplay. Like every combo that you do has like a beat, right? And this is like, you know, if you want to really think deeply about this, you know, for example, fighting games have like rhythms to it. When you do like a combo, or when you do like, you know, Magneto, for example, in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you do his like flight loop combos, like his like dash into heavy slash. He goes like hoo 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 hoo. Like it has a sort of like musical beat to it. This like applies to like fighting games, but like you notice that like fighting games have like a beat to them, right? And I think that's like the conceptual thing that Tango Gameworks, Shinji Mikami, John Johannes, right? Those like people at that like company under Bethesda wanted to make for this game, and it succeeds, right? Every part of your combo has like a beat, right? And it's all about like just timing. So like, you know, you do like mash X, right? Mash XXX, like normally you would do like in action games, right? Now you have to be like precise because there's like a just beat. So when the beat strikes, you do like do, you know, like it chimes in like in your head 4 times. It feels like you're going along with the combos, and the game rewards you if you do just time attacks. Like it's a very interesting mechanic, right? And as you later and not just for like light attacks are usually like 1 pip, right? Let's use like beat. Light attacks are always like 1 beat, and then heavy attacks are consisting of like 2 beats. And the game like starts you off with like telling you how to do like lights and heavies, and then once you start like buying like combos, other combos in the game, like now you could like mix and match between like different like beats. And then once you start playing more and more of the game, it's like, oh, the beat is like secondhand like nature. Like it feels like, oh wow, I get to like do this like beat while jiving along with like the game, right? And it gets even more rewarding when you do like perfect dodges or even perfect parries, right? A lot of those things are like incorporated into the game. It doesn't like feel as much, right? Because it's not something like, what was it? Fuck, I'm trying to like think of like a action game that like gives you like so much like, you know, ammunition, a lot of like tools in your kit that it seems like overwhelming, right? I guess like DMC, because like you can because of Dante with the style switches and the weapon cancels and all that jazz, right? Once you get to like really like play him. But this game doesn't like feel that, right? It kind of just like lessens that down because of the beat, of the music, of the rhythm of the game. Like it feels like you can do like complex like combos at the relative like ease, I feel. And that's a really like a real interesting like concept, you know? Yeah, just like everything about like the combat, and especially like in parts where like there's boss battles, every boss battle just feels like a fucking like gimmick after the first one. Every boss doesn't feel like the previous boss at all. Each one has like a unique, like, I'm going to be using a pun in this game, a rhythm. Every boss has a unique rhythm, right? Because it's, you know, DMC. Of course there's going to be like bosses here and there, right? I think one of my favorite bosses that like stand out to me, that offers like rewards, I don't know, like maybe like the final boss, or maybe like the Roquefort boss where he turns into like the wolf. I thought that was like really interesting. Yeah, first boss is like whatever, he just like does shit. I guess like Rekka, because like big, strong, beefy woman, and if you get caught with her like command grab, you get like fucking, you know. It's really funny looking to like actually be landed on you, you know. Korseka was a really good boss battle, and some of like these like boss battles, or like some of like the tougher enemies that you fight like in the game, have a Space Channel 5 mini game that you can do to deal extra damage, right? And Space Channel 5 is all about memorizing certain notes in a musical segment of during like the game. Oh, sorry, the camera's like not focusing properly. In the game, and then just like if you memorize the patterns and just time it at the beat, man, it feels super goddamn awesome and satisfying, right? It feels so cool. Like I was struggling at like the samurai one because it's like it's so new and interesting. You have to learn different beats for different like enemies, right? And it feels so good. It feels so good to like actually like pull that up, because you're like learning like their well, pattern, right? That's an inside joke for like also fighting games, right? But yeah, just everything about it just feels like so feel good. I think I talked about the combat, right? But the story wise is that you play like a quote unquote like loser named Chai, and he just wants to be like a rock star, and so he signs up with the corporation called Vandalay, and you know, he just wants to be a rock star. He just has no like work ethic. He's just a lazy bastard. But everything about like the game just feels like so cheesy and corny, right? But it's funny because of it, right? It doesn't feel like, oh my god, please like make it stop. Like it's not like, you know, I mean, corny and cheesiness, like this is like rich coming from me if anybody like thinks or like comments about it, because you know, I've watched fucking Power Rangers, right? You can't get any more cheesy and corny. Oh wait, there you go. Okay, you can't get any more cheesy and corny than Power Rangers, because Power Rangers is essentially like 5 teenagers with attitude. They put on like spandex, a lot of one-liners, let me tell you, a lot of one-liners, badass music in the background, and then the day is over and they go to like, you know, teenage, you know, shenanigans, go to school, lying is bad, or like you gotta plan a surprise party for a ranger or something. I've been through that shit. I know how cheesy it is, and I know what's the difference between good cheesy and bad cheesy, right? Bad cheesy is the later like Power Rangers like Dino Fury, right? Where the dialogue just sounds like fucking robots, right? Dialogue like fucking Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, right? With all their anime fucking rhetoric and like Genesis like quoting Shakespeare a lot. Man, shut the fuck up, man. This is so stupid. Here, like, it's cheesy, but like the game is like, the game like makes fun of itself, right? It doesn't really like take itself too seriously, right? Even at like the final stages of like the game, characters are still like quipping out like jokes, but it's a lighthearted time, right? This is a lighthearted as fuck video game. And back to what I was saying, like with Xbox, right? I'm glad that this game came out like on the Xbox and it was not like multi-platform like on a Nintendo Switch or like a excuse me, or a PlayStation 5, right? Cause here's what I've like heard from other people talking about this game. It feels like the early days of like Xbox or like the OG Dreamcast, right? Because what does like the Dreamcast or like the early Xbox have, right? They had like just feel good like anthropomorphic like animal like adventures. Well, no, anthropomorphic. Let's scratch that out, right? They had like feel good, like charismatic, very feel good, fun like games, right? Sega Dreamcast had like all about like that shit. I mean, we just talked about Space Channel 5. We had like Jet Set Radio. We had like Panzer Dragoon, right? And in the like the early Xbox, like the OG Xbox, even had like more stuff that were just like wacky, like cartoony fun. And this game like embodies the spirit of what Xbox like OG really is, right? Now like Xbox is just, you know, catering towards like the Forza market or like, you know, the Gears and the Halos, right? And all that jazz, right? And that's what like and that's where like Xbox is kind of like, you know, losing its like identity for, right? Like every like the two like big like colossal video game companies, well, Nintendo feels like it's like own entity, so it can't like include that, right? It's in its own fucking bubble. But like two companies, right? Microsoft and Sony, they're essentially like competing for each other on like the games are like cinematic like masterpieces, especially more on Sony's department, right? We got like Last of Us, we got God of War Ragnarok. I mean, we got like Uncharted, right? They're video games now are like steering towards, you know, like games are like a new form of like literature nowadays, right? We gotta tell this like compelling story, right? Especially for like, you know, now that this 2023 started, like now like Square Enix is like, you know, pumping out as like its catalog, right? With Forspoken, which came out recently. And Square Enix always been known for like their story, like rich, like type of like stuff. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was like the cinematic stuff with like Sony. Yeah, like here's the thing. Nowadays, like games are catering to the cinematic race for video games, right? Video games are now like entering a realm of like they just want to be movies now. Right, no matter where you go, there will be like advertisements for like, you know, Death Stranding or like Elden Ring or like all these like very like AAA budget like games that want to like tell you, you know, this is a story, right? This is like something you won't get when you go to like the movies, right? We have especially seen like every time me and Frank pull up for the Game Awards, every game just feels like, you know, either like a very serious tone like cinematic or just like dark and gritty sort of thing. There are some like lighthearted stuff like in the indie like development, but either way, video games are like a new form of like literature, a new media in the rising that like you can talk about like as a movie review, you know? And it feels nice to have Hi-Fi Rush as like a breath of fresh air from all of like the Sony cinematic universe, right? I enjoy like the cinematic stuff when it comes to like gaming. Like I play Spider-Man, I played God of War, right? I enjoy like Uncharted, right? Those like very actiony as fuck, you know, well, they're actions, right? But I do enjoy my time with them, right? But I I don't think like they've given me like a feel good like element to them. And Hi-Fi Rush definitely like delivers that on all levels. Right? The story is, you know, a couple of ragtag losers taking on like a company, right? You have Chai, you have Peppermint, the leader of the group, and who later is found out to be like related to the company head. Macaron, also related to the company, but wants to do like good. There's Cinnamon, and there's Corsica, right? All these like different personalities, all singularly together, because, you know, the game is a very tongue-in-cheek tone about what it's like being in the workforce, right? If anybody has ever worked in like, you know, administration or like just in low pay like jobs, and like you have to take orders from like the big head honcho company that's like ordering you around, or like, you know, taking away your funds that you could be like using either, you know, for your own like pleasures or for your own, or for like helping out others, right? Everything about like just what is like the workforce is embodied like in this game. But it doesn't take itself, again, too seriously on that. It's still tongue-in-cheek. It's still like a lighthearted good time, right? And it accepts that. You know? You got all these like wacky personalities. They're almost like, you know, cartoony, right? Which is like, you know, what the game's like aesthetics are like based on. Like the game just feels like old school like Dreamcast, like you ever played Jet Set Radio, or you ever played like Nights into like Dreams, right, sort of thing. It definitely does carry that vibe into here, like all the art styles, all like the shading, you know. Ooh, oh my god, I coughed into like a hiccup. Wow. It just feels so good. It just reminds you of like Lethal League. It reminds you of like Bomb Rush, Cyberpunk, Jet Set Radio, right? It definitely carries that element, right? Very cartoony, you know? And I feel like that's like what Xbox like should strive to like be. All these like different like cartoony elements that make like the Xbox shine out, right? And the only problem with like Xbox is that they're hammering away with like, you know, their usual day-to-day stuff with like Forza and the recent infamous stuff with like Halo Infinite, right? And it just feels like Xbox is trying to like push for something that it doesn't feel like it should be, you know? I mean, Halo and Gears of War are goated series, right? They establish themselves as like lore-driven like continuities, right? And people love the Gears or like the Halos and all that shit, right? But Xbox was like founded on the nuts and bolts, all the puns intended, by the Sega machines, by the Dreamcast, right? By the Sega Saturn, right? And that's what like Xbox I feel like should be, you know? I mean, it's good that those like games like Halo and Gears like came out, right? And they're very popular games. At the time they were like coming out, but now it's like, man, how much more are you gonna like milk this like franchise into, you know? I feel like Xbox should just like, you know, revive some of like the Sega things, right, that they had. Sonic is like multi-platform. Well, yeah, Sonic is multi-platform. They should just revive like Jet Set Radio, but then Jet Set Radio is like Team Reptile's like group, right? They should just revive fucking Virtua Fighter. Well, Virtua Fighter got like a HD update remaster on the PS5. It was like for free if you have PlayStation Plus, but like, yeah, just like that's what I feel like Xbox should be, you know? And yeah, just like the cinematic race, it's like we don't need to enter this like territory. Sometimes we just need games that are just like, you know, lighthearted, you know, not that much serious like storytelling like a Last of Us or like any of that shit, right? Just have games to be like, you know, they're fun for the sake of like being fun, you know? Right? That's like what I realized, you know, myself about like my choice of like media is that I love the games, I love fictional stuff that doesn't take itself too seriously, right? Like my favorite anime is JoJo, and you could pretty much like put 2 to 2 together, like, you know, why, right? It's silly. It's like, you know, it tries to be serious with like each like part like going in, but like every character does like a pose or a pose or a pose, you know? How can I take the series like seriously when everybody's doing like Vogue magazine poses here and there? How can I take JoJo seriously when like the author and like the story writing just like over explains like little nuances like into similes or like little factoids that you may not like know of into like simple like explanations. It's like, okay, sure. Some hokey cheesy bullshit, right? Fuck, like I said, I watch Power Rangers, right? And what's like the biggest fucking thing in Power Rangers? Or like what's the core of Power Rangers? It's a once a week show. It's a television series that has, you know, 5 teenagers with attitude solve a dilemma. There's a monster of a week. They do a pose, and then they get on a big fucking mecha, fight the big monster, go back, the dilemma is solved, right? And then cut to like a preview for next week's episode, right? Like, in Hi-Fi Rush, you know, it's not like a Power Rangers thing, obviously, right? But like, yeah, the Hi-Fi Rush is like a game that like it doesn't take itself too seriously. Everybody has a little bit of like levity and fun. Every like boss, every like NPC is unique and, you know, just interesting, right? It definitely like feels like, what was it? Wonderful 101 vibes, right? You know, which makes sense because like the listing or like the people that were running this game is like ex-Capcom devs. One of them is like Shinji Mikami, and a lot of those guys that were in like Capcom worked on fellow games like Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, right? And then they made like Clover Studios, which is like Beautiful Joe, and then like other games of the like. There's like Okami, and then there's Evil Within, right? Which is like their own group. Evil Within 1, Evil Within 2, right? And it just, you know, albeit, you know, Evil Within is like meant to be like a scary like third-person horror survival game, but there are moments in the game where it's like, you know, doesn't really take itself seriously, right? There are some like moments that like call back to like the lightheartedness of like video games, and that's literally what it is, you know. And I like appreciate that. I love that for Hi-Fi Rush being like a game, you know, for what it is, right? The story is you know, engaging, right? I really dig like the characters like personalities, right? I love the character interactions, right? I even like love their like silly puns, and like there's a lot of like references to like not just Tango Gameworks' own games, but other material as well, right? It just feels like a perfect like culmination of all of like the past like action games and like a spiritual successor to like rhythm like games. Like it somehow like melds like everything right into one like cohesive like unison, you know. And I feel like this is gonna be like my game of the year, right? Game of the year of 2023, in my honest like opinion. I have not felt this much like overflowing joy for a video game since like I said, DMC5, and I was really hyping up DMC5, right? Game just is so fucking charming, and if you're a fan of like character action games or just like old music driven rhythm games, oh boy, Hi-Fi Rush is definitely something for you. I really like give this game like a fucking 10 out of 10. This is like my 10 out of 10 game in my honest opinion, right? There's no way, there's no like I feel faults in the game, right? There's no like criticism I have about the game. If I had to think about like a criticism, what would like a criticism would be, you know? Fuck, can I like think of one? Damn, that's hard because like at one instance in one half of my mind is like I'm trying not to, but the other half is like I need to like find something. It can't be like a 10 out of 10, right? I'm guessing maybe like this is like a finicky thing, but like the price, right? I mean, we got the chance to like play it because it's on Xbox Game Pass, and if you have Xbox Game Pass, you could literally play it for free, right? But this game, it costs like $30, $40 for the deluxe edition, and the deluxe edition is just extra costumes. Not like new like gameplay stuff about it, or just like you get like credits or like whatever. But yeah, this is like not only is it like my game of the year, but also like best action game of all time, right? I don't think I felt like an action game with this much like high in like my highs. Then what action game did I really feel fucking enthusiastic about? Well, I mean, I'll say it again for like a third time, DMC5, because the game was just so fucking good, because it was a fucking fan letter to every DMC game there is. Well, not every game. I think like they don't count the DMC like reboot, right? And there are a lot of like curses, but there's no like nods to like the old DMC game, to the old DMC game, right? But yeah, it's just it's crazy. It's definitely my favorite fucking game of all time, right? And I'm gonna be keeping on playing this game, right? I'll keep finding extra stuff in the game, like fucking boss battles or like secret doors or things like that, and then just like go ham, right? We still haven't like finished the game, you know, technically, right? But it still is like a fun time to be had with Hi-Fi Rush. If you it's definitely like biased, right? Because I already like gave it like a 10 out of 10, but like again, if you're a fan of action games, if you like rhythm games, right? This game is for you, right? This game is definitely for you. But I think we should like end it here, right? Yeah, I don't care if like the ad is like starting soon. It's already like 1:40 and I should be like going to bed. We already streamed for like 7 hours and I'm already tired, right? We were supposed to do like Guilty Gear and God of War, but I got so caught up with this game that like I put everything else on the side, you know? But thank you guys a ton for tuning into this Khaiza stream. I really appreciate y'all coming on by and watching me play my favorite game of 2023. This game is like fantastic. I'll thank some special people that chatted in the chat. That was Hobo Mojo, Izzy Bose Gaming, and Crack Rock Steady. I think that's like the regular. Well, I know Crack Rock Steady is the regular customer, but yeah, Izzy seems like a regular, and Hobo Mojo, you also seem to be a regular. And don't worry, we'll play Marvel 3, and I'll definitely like rage and get my like ass kicked. Right, that's like what I'm obviously expecting myself to get if we ever play like old school like Marvel or some shit like that. I still have like my highs for Marvel 3, and there's still mods coming in for Marvel 3. Right? I think like Tabs, what was it? Mentioned that they're gonna be, he's reworking, wait, what? Oh, there's a new Capcom commentator in Street Fighter 6? Hold up, let me see. Wait.